Welcome everybody, here we are for the final time in these big, gorgeous, comfy chairs. Ian Irving, I can't believe that's it.
That is it.
How has that gone so quickly?
Time flies when you're enjoying yourself, I guess, Derek.
Doesn't it? Now, it has been a great competition, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, some people probably won't call it a classic. Maybe the football at times hasn't been as high quality as other tournaments. However, there's been some fantastic twists and turns. There's been the drama of big sides like England, France and Italy not doing as well as they should do. Early exits as well, really, from what was expected for teams like Argentina and Brazil. A fantastic young German side, shocking many people. Holland getting through to the final as well. Not many people would have predicted that at the start of the tournament. And of course, Spain growing in confidence from their first game, which they were beaten by Switzerland, taking that as the much needed boost and maybe reality check that they needed, and going on to lift the trophy and become the first team ever to lift the trophy, having lost the first game of the tournament.
Do you think this competition has engaged people kind of in a different way, hasn't it? Because we've got all of the things like Facebook and Twitter. We can all give our opinions and see them instantly on our mobile phones, and technology is so much better now. Has that all gone in the competition's advantage in terms of engaging people? Because we do seem, even as a nation in England, we do really seem to have really gone for it this year and got into it in a way that I don't know if I've seen before.
Yeah, I think there is an element of that. I think there's also an element of the fact of the freshness of it being in a different continent, it being in South Africa. You're watching the football games and you're getting all this context and background, and they're going out to the townships and getting a bit of history. There's a bit of Nelson Mandela and what he's been doing, and other politicians and Desmond Tutu and everyone else. And it's just giving it a real freshness that sometimes, the last World Cup was in Germany. What can anyone tell us about Germany that we don't already know? Whereas South Africa, you've got these fantastic sort of stories and history and real colourful politics, I suppose, as well. Bad and good, and they've shed lights on that, told stories about the past and the places where they're playing and the effect it's had on the people. And it just seems to have given the country as a whole, it's apparently cost an absolute fortune, but they interview people in the townships, they don't care how much it's cost. It's given them a sense of national pride, it's brought everyone together. And you know what, in terms of South Africa as a nation, it's been an incredibly successful tournament, because a lot of people were worried before, but that's proved to be wrong. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's kind of opened the eyes of the world, really, isn't it? I mean, we've seen all of the stories, we've seen what's reported in the past, and of course that's been a very harsh reality at times, very harsh reality at times, which maybe the world has been viewing with disapproval at some stages as well. But this really has kind of brought the country to life. I think a lot more people are more likely to say, do you know what, I really would consider going to what is, in essence, and always has been, a beautiful country.
It's a gorgeous country, yeah. And the other thing as well, how many arrests have we heard of? Whenever there's World Cups, there's always, I'm thinking back to France '98 and the water cannons, against England fans and so on, when they were rioting or whatever you'd want to call it. But there's been nothing, and all the talk beforehand was about high crime rates, high murder rates, all those sort of things. But that, it's just not really come through at all.
And even after last night's final as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It has passed off very peacefully. Talking of the final, we better talk about that, hadn't we? Because of course that was the pinnacle, the crescendo.
Of course.
And Paul the Octopus came out with the right prediction after all.
You know what? We'd be absolutely sitting on a fortune if we'd gone with that guy throughout. How an octopus can be so smart, I've no idea.
I know, it's crazy,
There's
isn't it?
results there from over the weekend. Obviously, Germany coming out on top eventually in that third place playoff.
Which was great news for them.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, they deserved it. To be fair, Uruguay have done fantastically well as well, but the Germans really brought they taught us a lesson, to be fair, and they taught the Argentinians a lesson as well, and people didn't expect that, but they always just seem to come good. But I feel sorry in a way for Holland. You've seen some of the pictures of the fans there. They're always fantastic orange, and they're really up for these games.
They're such a happy race, aren't they, the Dutch?
I can't imagine they are today, to be fair. I mean, obviously the Spanish do the best as well, but Holland now have the record of being the unluckiest finalists in World Cup history. No side has ever got to the World Cup final 3 times and been beaten 3 times. So unfortunately for them, it's an all familiar tale. Last time, they got to the final as well. They were beaten in extra time by Argentina. So
very exciting game though. Lots going on, and of course,
it was a dirty game. It was a dirty game. I think a lot of people expected it to be maybe a more beautiful game, you know, some nice football being played. The Spanish are known for that. I mean, look at that. Yeah. And he didn't even get sent off for that.
Looks like a boxing match, doesn't it, rather than a football game?
And Howard Webb really had his work cut out.
But people said that he handled it very well. He kept his cool. You know, he didn't kind of lose it. The right amount of discipline was there. He was fair in what was, as you say, quite a tricky match to referee, we imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a picture just a moment ago of Johnny Heitinga with the incident with the fan, of course, as well. But
trying to grab the World Cup.
Yeah, but Iker Casillas got his hands on it. He's a goalkeeper. He shouldn't drop it either, the Spanish captain, eventually. So, I mean, it wasn't a fantastic game in truth. Iniesta's goal in extra time won it. There were chances for either side. Robben had a fantastic chance for the Netherlands in normal time to win it. It was clean through, and Casillas made a great save. But I think ultimately, over the course of the tournament, no team has really stood out. However, I do think that the Spanish deserve it. They obviously, coming into it, were the champions of the European Championships 2 years ago. And they did get beaten the first game, but that was the only goal that they conceded throughout the whole tournament. They became the first ever side not to concede a goal in the knockout stages. And for a side that's known for keeping the ball and playing some great attacking football, you've got to give the defence credit as well. Gerard Piqué and Carlos Puyol at centre-half have both had decent tournaments. They've managed to keep sides out, and one way or another, it's been Spain that has come through again, and they've proved that a lot of people were tipping them before the tournament, and they've proved to be ultimately the best team in the tournament, so that's fair enough.
It has been a cracking spectacle, hasn't it? It really has. I mean, it was the closing ceremony where all of the graphics were projected onto the field, wasn't it? The spaceships and everything else. That was amazing. I mean, they really did kind of pull out the stops for that, didn't they?
They always go to town on these things, don't they? Opening ceremonies and closing ceremonies, and I think sometimes with the opening ceremony, they're trying to build a bit of excitement and that sort of thing. But with a closing ceremony, it's very much emphasis on the celebration. The football's been played. Obviously, there's still the final to come, but you have got that sort of reflective nature of the closing ceremony to bring it all to a head and say, listen, we've really enjoyed it. I hope you have too, and let's put another one last big show on for just before the final. And all right, the final didn't live up to its billing. Sometimes these games don't. Sometimes the pressure gets to the players, and the sense of occasion is greater perhaps than the match itself. But it happens, I guess.
Bringing things back to here, to home.
Do we have to?
I'm afraid, I know. I almost thought, no, I won't do this.
No,
and then I thought, well, let's bring ourselves up to date with where we are at the moment. I mean, we know Fabio Capello's staying for now. Where are we though in terms of, I know there's been a lot of big things in the news as we were discussing before, and of course leading up to the excitement of the World Cup final itself. But where are we? I've not heard anything from our players. Is everyone kind of lying low at the moment?
Yeah, they're probably on sun lounges in various different sunspots around the world, trying to get over the disappointment while we're stuck in Blighty and it's pouring down outside the day after what could have been a great night for England if of course they'd got to the final and so on. But yeah, Fabio Capello's staying. As to what changes he'll make, I think there has to be changes. There is too much pressure now and too much disappointment and hangover, I suppose, from the World Cup for there not to be changes. He's already talked about several sort of youngsters that he's looking to blood, people like Adam Johnson from Manchester City, Jack Rodwell, Jack Wilshere, Theo Walcott, who was left out of the squad, who probably will come back into contention. James Milner, who played a couple of games, might be brought through for a bit of a bigger role in the team. And we've got a friendly next month, I think, against Hungary, so that'll be a chance, a first chance maybe, to see what he's thinking about the future, what changes he wants to make to try and inject a bit of life into us, I suppose, and try and pick ourselves up for another qualification campaign, of course, for the European Championships. But it didn't go fantastically well for us. I think we're over it, sort of, now. So it'll just be interesting to see how it plays out now.
We're used to spectating in international competition. We like to have a go. We've got to break that almost glass ceiling that exists in competition.
Well, what got me is Germany, for instance, and I'm not surprised, but I was surprised at the same time. The only time that England have actually come out on top in a World Cup against Germany in terms of where they finished in the tournament was 1966 when England beat Germany in the final. Every other World Cup tournament, the Germans have got further than us. And that's a startling stat.
And 66 continues to be that magic number.
We still talk about it, don't we?
I know.
It's still being printed on the back of shirts. And
will we still be here in 4 years saying the same thing? Who knows? Listen, Ian, stick around. Don't go far.